Summer of 1957. Before dawn. A woman stands at the kitchen counter in bare feet on cold linoleum. She spoons sugar from a 5-pound Domino bag into a glass jar of her own morning urine. No appointment, no doctor, and no pharmacy. Just a woman, a pantry staple, and knowledge her mother whispered to her at the kitchen table after the men went to bed. Now, before we dive in, tap that subscribe button. You will not want to miss what is coming next. Number 20. The sugar test. 1 tablespoon of white granulated sugar. 1 tablespoon of first morning urine. If the sugar clumped instead of dissolving, the woman was likely pregnant. The ceramic mixing bowl from the cupboard above the stove. C&H or Domino cane sugar, the same bag used for Saturday morning coffee cake. She poured the urine slowly and watched. If the sugar dissolved clean, nothing had changed. If it sat in stubborn white lumps, refusing to break down, that was her answer, done in 60 seconds. The bowl rinsed and dried before anyone else in the house was awake. Today, a single pregnancy test at Walgreens costs $9.99. In 1955, a bag of sugar cost 39 cents and lasted a month. A woman's first moment of knowing happened alone in her own kitchen, not in a waiting room under fluorescent lights. That silence between the pour and the answer belonged only to her. The sugar test used a pantry staple to read the body's chemistry, but the next method used something even simpler, something she was already doing every single morning. Number 19. The stored urine observation. Collect first morning urine in a clear glass jar. Let it sit undisturbed for 24 hours. A thin white film forming on the surface meant pregnancy. A ball or Kerr mason jar, the same kind used for canning tomatoes in August. Set it on a high shelf in the bathroom closet and leave it untouched for a full day. The next morning, a cloudy film floats on the surface like a skin of cream on cooling milk. French doctors in the 1800s called it the chystine pellicle, a sticky membrane they believed appeared only in the urine of a pregnant woman. No chemicals, no ingredients at all. Just patience, a clean jar, and 24 hours. The oldest scientific instrument a woman had was her own attention. The mason jar test needed a full day and a steady shelf. The next one needed nothing but a pinch of table salt. Number 18. The salt test. A pinch of coarse table salt mixed with morning urine in a clean glass. If it turned milky or clumped into white curds, pregnancy was indicated. Morton salt from the round blue canister with the girl and the umbrella. A few minutes of watching. The crystalline grains either dissolving clean into the yellow liquid or thickening into something that looked like cottage cheese. Women passed this one neighbor to neighbor, mother to daughter at the kitchen table, church pew to church pew after Sunday service. Salt was the cheapest thing in the house. A woman who had nothing else still had this. But salt was not the only bottle on that kitchen shelf with answers inside it. Number 17. The vinegar test. Equal parts white vinegar and morning urine mixed in a glass. A color change within 5 minutes meant pregnancy. Heinz white vinegar, 19 cents a bottle in 1953. The sharp acidic bite hit the nose the moment the two liquids combined. If the color shifted or clouded or turned a shade darker, that was the answer. Some women used apple cider vinegar from the jug kept under the sink. Same principle, same quiet kitchen, same silence while they waited. Vinegar had been in that kitchen longer than the wallpaper, longer than the house itself. Women were testing with vinegar before the United States was a country. 4 methods in. Notice what they share. Not one required leaving the house. Not one required asking permission from a husband, a doctor, or a pharmacist. Every single one used something already sitting in the pantry. These were not primitive substitutes for real medicine. They were acts of self-reliance built into the rhythm of a woman's daily life. The kitchen was the first laboratory, and the woman running it was the first scientist in the family. Today, millions of women search the internet every month for natural pregnancy tests. The pantry never stopped being the answer. Number 16. The baking soda test. 2 tablespoons of baking soda in a bowl. Add morning urine. Vigorous fizzing meant pregnancy. No reaction meant not pregnant. Arm & Hammer baking soda, the orange box always kept in the back of the refrigerator. A metal mixing spoon from the drawer. The sound, or the silence, when the urine hit the powder. If it hissed and popped like opening a cold bottle of Coca-Cola, the acid in her urine had shifted. If it sat quiet and flat as a glass of still water, the pH was normal and unchanged. The chemistry behind it is the same reaction taught in every 8th grade science class. Acid meeting base. The women using this in 1940 did not know the chemistry by name. They did not need to. They knew the answer. Number 15. The toothpaste test. A dab of plain white toothpaste mixed with urine. If it foamed or turned bluish, pregnancy was suspected. Colgate or Pepsodent, the standard white paste in the flat metal tube, squeezed carefully from the bottom. A small smear in a Dixie cup. Morning urine poured slowly over it. The paste either sat inert and chalky or slowly foamed, changing color at the edges. The calcium carbonate in the toothpaste reacted with the acidic composition of the urine. She brushed her teeth with it every morning. She tested her future with it once. Same tube, toothpaste, baking soda, vinegar, salt, sugar. All kitchen counter-chemistry. But the older methods, the ones that came before supermarkets, before indoor plumbing, before the suburbs, those used something else entirely. They used the earth. Number 14. The dandelion leaf test. Fresh dandelion leaves were laid on a flat surface, soaked with morning urine. If red blisters or bumps appeared on the leaves, within 10 minutes, the woman was pregnant. Leaves were picked from the backyard before the morning dew burned off. They were laid flat on waxed paper or on a tin plate, kept away from direct sun. The urine was poured slowly, soaking the jagged green leaves flat against the surface. 10 minutes of watching. Small reddish bumps rising on the leaf, like a rash on skin. Or nothing at all. Just wet dandelion leaves turning brown at the edges. The dandelion was a weed, free, growing in every yard on every street in America. Nobody owned it, and nobody could charge for it. And it answered a question that would change a woman's entire life. Number 13. The wheat and barley seed test. Urinate on separate piles of wheat and barley seeds over several days. If the seeds sprouted, the woman was pregnant. If the barley sprouted first, a boy. If the wheat, a girl. No sprouts meant no pregnancy. Seeds from the feed store or the pantry. Set in shallow clay dishes on a windowsill. Watered each morning with the first urine of the day. The waiting. 3 days, 4, 5. Watching for the first pale green tendril pushing through the hull of the grain. The smell of damp seeds in a warm room. The quiet counting of mornings. This test is from ancient Egypt. 1350 BCE, recorded on the Carlsberg Papyrus. In 1963, researchers tested this exact method in a laboratory and found it 70% accurate at detecting pregnancy. The elevated estrogen in pregnant women's urine actually stimulates seed germination. 3,300 years before anyone identified a hormone, Egyptian women already knew what it did. They just called it something else. The seed test proved something that modern science spent centuries catching up to. But not every old test was this gentle. Some of them were brutal. And the next one might be the strangest thing you hear all week. Number 12. The onion test. Insert a raw onion into the vagina overnight. If the woman's breath smelled of onion the following morning, she was not pregnant. If it did not, she was. Prescribed by Hippocrates himself around 400 BCE. The Greek theory held that a woman who was not pregnant had an open channel through her body, and scent could travel unobstructed from the womb to the mouth. A pregnant woman's womb was sealed shut by the embryo. The onion scent could not pass through. This method persisted across Europe for over 2,000 years. Variations used garlic instead. Wrong in its reasoning, invasive in its method. But it tells you something about how urgently women needed to know. Urgently enough to endure this in the dark, alone, with no one to ask and no one to tell. Number 11. The wine and urine test. Mix equal parts wine and urine in a glass vessel. Observe changes in color, cloudiness, or texture. Dramatic changes indicated pregnancy. A European method dating to the medieval period. Practitioners called piss prophets, and that was their actual professional title, mixed a woman's urine with wine and held the glass to candlelight. Cloudy swirls. Color shifts from pale amber to murky red, foaming at the surface. The alcohol reacted with proteins present in higher concentrations in pregnant urine. It was crude alchemy. But the chemistry underneath it was real. The piss prophets were mocked in their own century, and they are mocked now. But they were the first people in history to treat pregnancy detection as a paid profession. They were wrong often. They were trying always. 10 methods gone. And a second pattern emerges. Every method created before the 20th century had one thing in common. It trusted the woman to interpret her own results. No lab technician stood between her and the answer. No receptionist handed her a clipboard. She looked at the jar, the bowl, the leaves, the seeds, and she made the call herself. That was not ignorance. That was authority. And it was taken from her $1 at a time. Number 10. The bleach test. Half a cup of plain bleach mixed with half a cup of morning urine. If the mixture foamed and bubbled aggressively, pregnancy was indicated. Clorox bleach from the galvanized utility shelf in the basement. Poured into a tin bucket, never ceramic, because the reaction could stain. Rubber kitchen gloves pulled on tight. The ammonia in the urine hitting the sodium hypochlorite in the bleach. The hiss and pop, the rising foam, or the dead silence of a negative result. This was the one test every grandmother warned you to do outside, near the clothesline, because the fumes could burn your eyes. Harsh chemical. Real caution required, but women did it anyway, on the back porch at dawn, before the neighbors were up. Because the answer mattered more than the discomfort. It always did. Number 9. The soap test. Pour urine over a bar of soap or a squirt of dish soap. Significant foam and bubbles meant pregnancy was suspected. Ivory soap, the bar that was 99.44% pure. The same bar that sat in every soap dish in America. Or a squeeze of Joy or Palmolive from the bottle beside the kitchen sink. A small dish, 2 tablespoons of urine, 5 minutes of waiting. The soap either sitting flat and unmoved or frothing up thick with tiny bubbles, reacting to something in the urine that plain water never triggered. She washed her children's hands with it. She washed the family's clothes with it. And in the quiet early morning, she used it to ask the question no one else in the world could answer for her. Number 8. The needle in urine test. Place a clean iron sewing needle in a container of urine. Leave it overnight. If the needle turned red or black by morning, the woman was pregnant. A needle from the pin cushion next to the singer's sewing machine. Dropped into a glass of urine before bed. The morning check. Pulling the needle out between two fingers and holding it up to the window light, looking for any change in color. Red meant yes. Black meant yes. Silver, unchanged, meant no. This method appears in medieval midwifery manuals across Europe. It was still used in folk practice well into the 20th century. In one 16th century transcription, the word needle was misread as nettle. And for generations afterward, women soaked stinging nettle leaves in urine instead. A single copying error that lived for hundreds of years. A sewing needle. The same tool she used to mend her husband's shirts on a Sunday evening, repurposed in the dark to mend her own uncertainty. The needle test relied on iron and oxidation. But the next method relied on something no scientist has ever been able to bottle: the accumulated knowledge inside one woman's fingertips. Number 7. The pulse test. A trained practitioner, an experienced midwife, or the woman's own mother placed 3 fingers on the inside of the wrist. They read subtle changes in pulse rhythm and strength to detect pregnancy. Nadi Pariksha in Ayurvedic medicine. 3 fingers pressed gently to the radial artery, the index finger reading one quality of the pulse, the middle finger another, the ring finger a third. A pregnant woman's pulse was said to feel slippery, bounding faster than her normal resting rhythm. The midwife closed her eyes. The room went quiet. She counted silently, feeling for the one thing the body could not hide. No instrument, no chemical, nothing purchased. Just the oldest technology on Earth. One human being paying careful attention to another. Number 6. The mustard powder bath. Draw a hot bath. Add half a cup of powdered mustard. Soak for 20 minutes. If a period arrived within 2 or 3 days, the woman was not pregnant. If it did not come, she was. Coleman's dry mustard, the sharp yellow powder sold in small tins at every grocery store in America. The heat of the water turning a pale gold. The mustard stinging slightly on the skin, warming the body from the outside in. For centuries, mustard had been used as what physicians called an emmenagogue, a substance believed to stimulate menstrual flow. The logic was simple. If it could bring on a period and the period still did not come, something was preventing it. Not a test with a result in 5 minutes. A test that made a woman wait 3 full days with no answer. 72 hours of uncertainty. That was the price of knowing without asking anyone. 14 methods in. And the quiet truth beneath all of them is this: women did not stop using these tests because the tests stopped working. They stopped because someone told them to stop, told them the kitchen was not a laboratory, told them their mothers did not know what they were talking about, told them that knowledge passed between women at kitchen tables and over backyard fences was not real knowledge. It was real. It always was. And right now, a growing number of women are searching for these same methods all over again, looking for something the drugstore took away. Number 5. The eye examination. In 1612, French surgeon Jacques Guillemot published that a pregnant woman's eyes would change. Sinking deeper into their sockets, pupils shrinking, eyelids drooping, small veins swelling in the inner corners. As early as the 2nd month, a woman standing near a window in good morning light, the doctor or midwife leaning in close, studying the white of the eye, the rim of the lower lid, the tiny vessels at the inner corner. No equipment, no lamp, no mirror needed, just sustained, careful looking. Guillemot was not accurate in his specifics, but he was right about the instinct. Pregnancy does change a woman's vision. Fluid retention shifts the shape of the cornea. Eye doctors today still tell pregnant women to wait before getting a new glasses prescription. He looked at women's eyes and tried to read the truth inside them. Wrong about the details, right about the principle. The body tells you if you know where to look. Number 4, Chadwick's sign. A visible bluish-purple discoloration of the cervix and surrounding tissue, appearing around 6 to 8 weeks after conception. First documented by a French physician in 1836, named for American obstetrician James Reed Chadwick, who presented it to the American Gynecological Society in 1886. No lab, no urine, no animal. A midwife or physician simply looked. The increased blood flow to the reproductive organs during early pregnancy caused the tissue to darken from its normal pink to a deep violet blue. The change was unmistakable to anyone who knew what healthy tissue looked like. Midwives had probably been noticing this for centuries before any man thought to write it down in a medical journal. This is the one method on the entire list that modern medicine still recognizes as clinically valid today. A physical sign visible to the trained human eye. No technology required, no subscription, no $9 plastic stick. Just a woman's body doing what it has always done, announcing the truth to anyone willing to pay attention. Chadwick's sign was science hiding in plain sight for centuries. But the next 3 methods are something else entirely. They used living creatures to answer the question, and one of them changed the English language forever. Number 3, the toad test. In 1947, Argentine scientist Carlos Galimainini discovered something remarkable. Injecting a pregnant woman's urine into a male toad caused the animal to produce sperm within 3 hours. Sperm present under the microscope meant pregnancy confirmed. Oi. A Bufo arenarum toad, a syringe of urine injected into its body, 3 hours of silence and waiting. Then the lab technician extracted fluid and placed it under a microscope. Sperm meant yes, no sperm meant no. The method was faster than the rabbit test and far cheaper, and the toad survived to be used again. Laboratories kept dozens of them lined up in glass tanks on metal shelves, like reference books in a medical library. A living animal answering a human question with its own biology. The test worked because pregnancy hormones do not recognize species boundaries. The body speaks a chemical language that crosses every wall in the natural world. Even a toad can hear it. Number 2, the frog test. Inject a woman's urine into a female African clawed frog. If the frog laid eggs within 8 to 12 hours, the woman was pregnant. This was the standard clinical pregnancy test across American hospitals throughout the 1940s and 1950s. Xenopus laevis, a flat, slippery aquatic frog imported by the thousands from South Africa. They were kept in laboratory tanks in hospital basements from New York to San Francisco. The urine was injected just beneath the frog's skin. A technician would check the tank the next morning for a scattering of tiny eggs at the bottom. The frog lived. It could be reused week after week, month after month. Researcher Edward Elkin once tested over 2,000 frogs and reported 0 false positives. Not one. When your grandmother told you she found out she was pregnant at the doctor's office, this may be exactly how it happened. A frog in a tank in a hospital basement laid eggs because of her. And nobody told her that part. They just said congratulations. You are expecting 20 methods, spanning 4,000 years, from Egyptian barley seeds on a windowsill to African clawed frogs in hospital basements, from dandelion leaves in the backyard to a pinch of Morton salt from the pantry shelf. And every single one was replaced by a plastic stick in a foil wrapper. The stick is faster, the stick is more accurate, but the stick did something the old methods never did. It put a corporation between a woman and her own body. The sugar, the salt, the seeds, the vinegar asked for nothing but her patience and her attention. The stick asks for her wallet. Number 1. The rabbit test. A woman's urine injected into a live female rabbit. Several days later, the rabbit was killed and its ovaries dissected. If the ovaries showed signs of ovulation, the woman was pregnant. Developed by Maurice Harold Friedman in the early 1930s. This was the standard laboratory pregnancy test in the United States for 3 decades. A white New Zealand rabbit in a wire cage in a hospital pathology lab. The urine injected beneath the skin. 2 days of waiting. Then the rabbit was sacrificed with chloroform. The ovaries carefully removed, sliced thin, and placed under a microscope. The technician was looking for one specific sign. Evidence that the rabbit had ovulated in response to the hormone in the woman's urine. The test was 98% accurate, and the rabbit died every single time, positive or negative. The phrase entered the American language. The rabbit died. That is how women announced a pregnancy for an entire generation, whispered at kitchen tables, written in letters to mothers across the country, spoken softly over party lines on shared telephones. But here is what most people never knew. The rabbit always died, whether the test was positive or negative. The rabbit died because its body had to be opened to read the answer written inside. The phrase should have been, "The rabbit was asked," and it gave the only answer it could with its life. 20 methods. Not one needed a prescription, a barcode, or a pharmacy. They needed sugar, salt, seeds, and the nerve of a woman who had to know before the world found out. The tests are gone. The knowing is not. It lives in the silence of a kitchen at dawn before anyone else was awake. The women knew. The house remembered. The world forgot. If you want more forgotten wisdom, the next video is waiting.